Hey guys, it's Emily. Welcome to Posy Lane. At Posy Lane, we like to do fun, easy, doable crafts. Subscribe for more crafting videos. Today, we're going to be making a gnome home. I had gotten an email from the Dollar Tree where it was like, our fairy garden stuff's out, and I saw all these really cute, adorable things, and immediately I went to my store to look at it all. I just was like, I need to come up with something to do with this. Please say you still have this in stock. And luckily they did. I went and I found this really cute little door and another little accessory that's like a welcome sign that I'm going to use to build just a really cute little home for a gnome. To make our gnome home, obviously we need a little door for his little home. And then we also need some little accessories. I picked out this welcome sign that I really like, and it has a mushroom on it, just like the door has a mushroom on it, so it kind of like matches and coordinates. And then we're gonna be using a pot upside down to build the home. And then we also need some rocks, and these are like smooth stone rocks that I just got at the Dollar Tree. I got 2 different kinds of moss to put all over the house. If you can't find this at the Dollar Tree, I actually went to Walmart and they had a bunch of different kinds of moss, and these were the 2 that I liked that were my favorite. You also are going to need to collect some sticks from outside. Everything is going to be stuck together with hot glue, so you definitely need hot glue. The last thing you're going to need is a paper towel roll, and we're going to be seeing if we can make a little bridge with it. As a crafter, Target Dollar Spot is the place to go. I found this really cute little gnome there, even after I had already decided to build his gnome home, so I had to get him. To start building the home, I was thinking about putting the door on. I wasn't sure what the front would be, but I looked and noticed that there's a spout here. So I'm gonna do the door on the opposite side. Testing this out, I noticed how heavy this is and how if you were building this, it's gonna be really clunky. I just plan on marking it, and that way I'll know where it is and where it needs to go, but I'm gonna attach it last. We're going to be building this in 3 layers, starting with the rocks. Are really going to be acting like an accent on here. I felt like if I put them on afterwards, you would be fighting the moss to try to get them on. Once I got one rock on, immediately this started rolling because it was heavier from even just one rock. I went and found 2 weights that I'm going to use to balance it as I add more of these rocks. The second layer is going to be moss, and I found a dark green moss called forest moss, so that's going to be the base because I have a ton of it. The third layer is going to be this bright green moss. It's called reindeer moss, and I love how bright the colors are, and I think it will work great for an accent. If you're wondering what kind of pattern I did for the rocks, it's a little random, but I did do like an up, down pattern. I feel like this is good for the rocks for now. I don't want to go crazy with this, but I might add more later. I'm bringing the gnome in to oversee my building, make sure he approves of everything. And I've got this moss. When I opened up the bag, it was really in big clumps, so I've tried to make it more manageable already, but you may need to pull it apart when you do it. There are a lot of gaps, so if I go directly here, I'm gonna possibly be burning myself. The plan is to just hot glue the pot and then stick it on. I've got the first piece on, and you can see it really fills out even with just a small piece of moss. I'm intentionally leaving gaps for the other moss. And the other thing is I really like building this on the side. I feel like it's giving time for the moss to really adhere to the pot and it's not going everywhere. Make sure when you're doing this, you have a lot of hot glue. I've used like 4 sticks already and I'm not even halfway done. Luckily, like if there are gaps, this color is really natural and I think that it's okay if some of it shows through. Did you know that this is real moss? My husband didn't. He thought that it was like fake moss. But if you look on the package, it says it's preserved moss. We're now ready to add the reindeer moss, and looking at it, I really like that contrast of the darker green and this really bright green. And this feels really spongy. Like when you pull it apart, it feels like a sponge. This gnome really reminds me of cartoon I watched when I was little. And I'm a child of the 80s, so I watched Care Bears and Gummy Bears, you know, the Saturday morning cartoons, thinking about it, and I remembered David the Gnome. and how much I love that show, but I'm pretty sure I was really little when I watched it. So I looked up when it came out, and it came out like in 1985. It was a Spanish speaking cartoon, and it was called David El Gnome, which I had no clue. So you learn something new every day. Now that we've got all of it covered with the moss, if you remember, we already marked where the door is going to go, and my plan is just to put like a really thick layer of glue on the pot and the door so it will stick really good. I got the door on now, and I'm really happy with how this house is coming together. I did notice there's a few little gaps here that I'm just going to fill in with moss. Guys, do you see how this is coming together? It really looks like something from a fantasy land, like maybe Lord of the Rings, like maybe a hobbit is coming out of this. It's a hobbit hole. I really am so happy with how it's coming along. We need to do the roof now, so that will be our next step. The roof is super simple. All we're doing is adding rocks, and I'm trying to get different ones of different sizes and shapes and colors on here. We're not even gluing them on. They'll just be laid on top of here. I noticed there's some gaps kind of in the front, and so when I went to put a rock in, I didn't realize this, but the moss is kind of strong enough to kind of lean on and hold the rocks up. I went outside today with my son and collected some sticks. I want to make some accessories for the gnome home, and so I built this ladder already. You just need 2 sticks and then hot glue some rungs to it, and all you have to do is lean that up against your little gnome home and he can get to his roof. I want to show you how to make a simple arch bridge, and we're going to be using a paper towel roll and sticks to do that. And the reason I'm using the paper towel roll is it's already the natural like brown color that matches the sticks. And then if we split it in half, it has that arch shape to it that will make it easy to form the bridge. I just cut a piece of this paper towel roll off, and then when I split it, it automatically made this shape right here, which is perfect for an arch bridge. Collecting sticks like I did totally reminded me of like camping. I was a campfire girl when I was little, and so we learned how to build fires. You had to get kindling and then, you know, the next size wood and go up because you have to gradually build your fire. So collecting these sticks really reminded me of gathering all the wood for a fire. I was gluing all of these on, and it was starting to look really straight, and I was starting to worry because I was like, oh no, I need this to be an arch shape. And so I just started working it and making it more pliable, and if you just kind of do that, then you're able to keep your arch shape. I've set it up kind of the way, like to add kind of a story to it with layers, with a rock path and then the bridge up front and then the little guy over here, and then this is leaning up against it like he uses it to get to his roof, just to kind of add to the story of it all. Even though it's just like a simple pot from the Dollar Tree, how it all comes together with these different layers to add so much. Like these are just sticks I found outside, but how cute is it to just repurpose them for accessories for this? And the other thing I love is I added little found items too, like acorns. You could go out in nature and just find little things to add to it, and it really pulls it all together and makes it feel like it's this little house for a gnome. The thing that was a lifesaver when building this was the idea of putting the weights on either side so that this pot wasn't rolling around, because otherwise I probably would have had moss everywhere and would have been just barely managing to get it on. And so having it on its side, it really helped get the moss to stay on, and it helped it be so much more manageable. I had so much fun putting all of this together. Thank you guys so much for joining me this week on Posing Lane. I can't wait for our next craft.